about money matters in research, in academic pursuits, which is very important. And today, the session is organized by Bridge, who runs the Akada Lounge, which is a series of events to build the capacity of researchers. And that's done in collaboration with the Nigerian Applied Microbiologists Network. So we just finished the meeting of the NAM network, and the Masterclass is supposed to be a part of that today. So apologies again for the time. So just a brief background on Bridge and what we stand for. So it's basically an initiative that was started to build and maximize the research capacity of colleagues and also organizations in Africa, basically, so that we can meet the need of society. And the real reason for that is because we found out that there's been a gap in the skill set and the capacity of people who are conducting research, and also because of the inherent limitations based on the environment that we are in, that limits us from doing the best that we could do in terms of research.
You're waiting for me to come in before you close the gate. You will close the gate on the car one day.
All right. So because of that, we started Akada Lounge, which is a series of events to build the capacity in critical areas of research career. So about myself, my journey, so I'm not talking about what I have not been a part of. Okay, so just to give a brief overview of the kind of... If anyone is not speaking at the moment, could you mute your microphone, please, so that yeah, we can all enjoy the session together. So in 2009, I won an Erasmus Mundus scholarship. That was when I had started my master's at Federal University of Agriculture, Abeokuta. 1 year in, but because of visa issues, I was supposed to start that in Italy, and I really experienced a lot. Anyways, I couldn't take up that scholarship. I came back to finish my master's, and I was fortunate to win a fully funded conference to Portugal, and then I got a fellowship on one of the EU FP7 projects, which is on mycotoxin reduction. So I was able to visit a lab in Italy, worked for 3 months, got publications from that. In 2012, conferences also, and then the major one was I got a scholarship for my PhD in Ireland. And finishing that in 2017, I started working, I worked briefly as a visiting lecturer in the UK, and then as a postdoc at the moment. And more recently, I'm transiting to a new position at in Galway on the Marie Curie Fellowship, which I will talk about in more details as we go on. So the title for today, we stated it to be scholarships and research funding, which, where, and how. And the which part of it, I would give a presentation briefly, and after that, I will go through the exploration of some of the opportunities on the website. So we'll do some demo, we interact together on that, and then we would have hopefully some ample time for question and answers at the end. So when the question of research funding or funding comes up, the 3 main areas that I'd like to address today would be, it could be funding for studies. So if it's mainly coursework, so bachelor's, master's degrees. It could be funding for research training. It depends on what stage of your career you are in. It could be funding for research training. So if you're doing a M research or PhD, or even for those who have obtained their PhDs for postdoctoral training. And the third part, which I know is also very important, especially for our colleagues who are based in Africa, who would like to develop those capacities. So it's not just about going abroad full time. For those who, for maybe family reasons or other reasons, can't pull up everyone to go abroad, how could they make the best of both worlds while staying in Africa, still enjoying the best of exposure for their research? So depending on your stage, those are the main areas. So the next main question is, where could we find these opportunities? So the first that I would like to talk about would be for studies, for educational reasons. So those within for masters or for bachelors in some cases in some countries. So there are some opportunities that are on a rolling basis. So it is certain that they will come out at a particular time of the year. They are always there, and bearing any difficult situation to the funding body, which might make them cut funding, it would always be there. So for those who are just finishing their bachelor's program, you're finishing your degree, you're thinking about what next. The Erasmus Mundus Joint Master's Degree Program is very good. Now, this funding opportunity is very good. Now, the one I got in 2009 was to start in Italy, the second semester in Austria, the third semester in Germany, and the last semester, it was a 2-year program in any of the 3 universities based on what your research interests are. So these are usually multi-country fundings, which, if you get them, are very, very competitive and could place you on a great pedestal for the rest of your career. So I know colleagues who have applied for these and have gone on to do PhDs in other parts of the world, and probably assistant professors somewhere in Canada, in the US, in Australia, etc. So a good opportunity. The second, I would talk about where you could find funding. Now, as we go on, we'll be talking about some of them that are for studies and for research together. So some of these funders, for example, for overseas countries, they fund not just studies, but also for research. So the DAAD is the German Academic Exchange Service, which would be one of the websites that we'll be exploring in the case of the demonstration later on. So there is funding by Global Korea Scholarship. So they have even a 2 system in which you could be nominated by the embassies. You could apply through the embassy in your different countries, or you apply directly to the central body in Korea. The Government of Ireland Postgraduate Scholarship is another. So I've just picked a few that you could look for as many countries as you're interested in as possible and see what funding each country provides. So I gave the example here of the Government of Ireland Postdoctoral Fellowship because I won it after my PhD, but didn't take it up because of some personal reasons. So they not only fund people who wants to come and do a master's program or a PhD program, which would cover all your costs, your school fees, as well as stipends. For the postdoctoral program, they have a 1-year or a 2-year program, which you would develop a proposal with an host academic in one of the universities in Ireland, and then you could use that. If you apply and you are successful, that would be a very good opportunity to continue your research career. Lastly, I also want to mention that there's also the National Research Foundation in South Africa that fund postdoctoral opportunities. So some of these could be applying directly to the NRF, or it could be applying to researchers who have been funded by NRF on their different researches, but they have funding for postdoctoral researchers in that. So another place where we could look for funding opportunities would be some universities have specific schemes that we could explore. So I mentioned here that the National University of Ireland in Galway, where I did my PhD, I applied for the Adiman Scholarship. I didn't get that and was encouraged to apply for the College of Science PhD Fellowship, which I eventually got to do my PhD in Ireland. So universities, so different universities, you could look at any university with expertise in what area of research you're interested in. Look at what opportunities they have for funding, and that would progress. In the US-Canada system, they have assistantship. So usually the way it works is that you apply to a graduate school. Maybe you've been in contact with an academic to say, I want to apply to your university. Could you know, if they are interested, they've seen your profile, they think you could add something to their research, they basically ask you to apply to their graduate school. So based on that, they like support or your application when it's being discussed. And usually they are funding, as you're a PhD student, you would be on some form of assistantship. So you assist with teaching or with research, and your PhD gets funded through that. So I've just given a snapshot of one of those opportunities where they're looking for research into a specific area, and the main information that's required are provided. And so aside university or country university specific funding, there are also project specific funding, which in Europe and especially in the UK, that's most of the ways that it works. So if you are considering a PhD, for example, researchers, established researchers have funding that they have applied for to take a student to investigate something. So the universities make a call for that there's this project, we want someone to do this. If you have the skills, XYZ is what we require. And you apply to that. And if you're selected, if sometimes the funding is restricted to permanent resident or those who are citizens, but there are also many other opportunities that are open to people from around the world. So that's in terms of PhD. Also, just to mention that the EU has a program, which is an international training network, which the different universities and research organizations and even industry come together to write projects to address specific questions. So I put here the image of one of the training networks, which looks at reducing emissions, carbon emissions, for example. So they address specific questions and take a list of the different projects under that, and they advertise to people from around the world to apply to that. For those who are looking for postdocs, one of the main go-to places aside from university websites in the UK is jobs.ac.uk. So usually, even if universities advertise on their website, they still will advertise those opportunities on jobs.ac.uk, where they've obtained funding for something specific. They make the call. If you have the skill set, you apply to that. And if you get it, that's the opportunity to keep moving. So those are some of those opportunities. Then aside those different rolling schemes, there are other special or ad hoc opportunities that come up. So I've given an example here of a funding opportunity I saw and was exchanging with some of my friends. The first one was a partnership between the German government and the African Union, and TWAS specifically, to fund those who have done their PhDs abroad and going back to Africa to set up their research organization. And it was very generous. It's in the hundreds of thousands of dollars that the funding is, which would not just fund the research, it funds the researcher, the student that will work with them on the research, innovation aspect of the research, if it will be explored commercially. It funds also if you need to take research visit and spend some time in research organization in a country. Those are different opportunities that that provides. For the second example is an opportunity for PhD students in specific research areas. I'm happy to send this slides to people afterwards, so I'll just go through them. And the last, which is something I think is not very much explored, is the opportunity for exchange within Africa. So the German organization, DAAD, does these have opportunities where staff members of different universities or research organizations within Africa could spend time in other countries to develop their research skills and start up collaborative research from that arena, which I think is very important. I remember there was one of those funding schemes that a colleague of mine, when I was doing my master's in Nigeria, applied for. It was even for students. So there was a partnership that allowed students within Africa to go to specific university on different research areas. And he got this. And from that, it was the stepping stone to greater things. So exchange within Africa is also very important. So other non-conventional ways, I will just mention a few of them and so that we could go into our demonstration. So other non-conventional ways is Twitter. Now, we had a fantastic presentation earlier today about how we can market our research and develop an online presence to promote our research. So I've put here someone that I follow on Twitter who is a very, very savvy person when it comes to scholarships. So I know there's Twitter ban in Nigeria for those who are in Nigeria, but he also has a YouTube page to discuss some of these things. So if you are not using VPN and you want to look at other means of following, so following him, he posts opportunity, and not just that, but also how to apply. So how to do personal statements yourself, how to contact professors, sending cold emails when there is no specific call for scholarship, but you just feel, oh, this person is working in an area that I like, I would like to work with them, what they look out for. So is someone I absolutely recommend. Dr. Igbala Jobi is based in Canada at the moment. So you could follow him if you want. So you could look at the profiles of other researchers on their different websites. They would probably have their CVs where they have listed a few things that they have won over the years. These could be pointers to opportunities you could look at yourself and could help you in terms of research funding. Some professional organizations are also very important in the sense of sharing opportunities for research fundings. Even if it starts from attending conferences, that could be the stepping stone to meeting people that will see your poster or your talk and be interested in taking you on board. I would recommend this, the fourth point, very important, sign into some directories and databases. So I joined this African Sciences directory, which is just a platform of Africans at home and in diaspora who are doing different things. You put your profile there, the specific areas of your expertise, and through that, they have a link with the African Union system. So when there are grants, opportunity that comes within African Union, they disseminate to those that they have their contact through this directory, and that could be a very useful opportunity. And the last one, obviously, if you see someone who is doing something you're interested in, contact them. So it looks like the first part I've dealt mainly on funding for masters or PhDs. Some of them I've looked at research funding, and I just want to list a few other points for those who are academics who are not doing a PhD again, or they don't want to do a master's again. What are the opportunities for them? So I know there are quite a number of microbiology audience that we have today, and I've just put here. So the Society for Applied Microbiology is one organization that I'm a part of, and I would really recommend anyone who wants an opportunity to join a society that's, not only generous, but supports their members very well. So they have things like the new lecturer grant, which is about £10,000 to do research if you've just been recently appointed to your role. They also have an international development grant, which also Microbiology Society, which I'm also an active member of, has something similar to that. So with that fund, if you're based in Africa or a developing country, you could apply for a specific amount to cover your costs to visit another research lab in an advanced country, and also works vice versa. So if you are abroad and you want to work with, you want to do a project in Africa, they fund such. Another thing that I would also recommend is summer studentship. So if you're a lecturer in Africa, in Nigeria, for example, and you have students who you have research ideas that you need to generate preliminary data. If you apply for such funding like this, they do. I have example of people that are in Nigeria that have won this, for example. You could get that funding. Your student gets £250 every week for, I think, a maximum of 8 weeks, and £500 for research consumables. I'm sure that will go a very long way. And most of the things is, once you start with this, show evidence that you're building your track record to get other things, and helps your visibility. So the Africa-EU partnership, so the AU and the EU does have a partnership on research and capacity building, and they have lots of mobility within Africa for students, for research staff, members to benefit from that. Also, the IFS, International Foundation for Science, funds researchers, whether with MSc and considerable research experience or those post-PhD, to conduct research. I think if it's about $10,000 to $12,000, and you could use that to make progress with your research. The Association for Commonwealth University also have funding opportunities for going for conferences, doing research visits overseas, etc., that you could explore. And the last one, bilateral research programs. Now, I'm talking here, about fundings that are based abroad, but they require partners in developing countries to do specific research. So here, for example, the Global Challenges Research Fund is based in the UK, and they fund projects that has impact. Now, at the moment, because of some cuts in funding, there might be a reduced opportunity in that area, but different countries, Sweden, Germany, have different bilateral research programs that we could look at. So, having found what you are interested in, how do you then progress? First suggestion for me is that you list out those opportunities of your interest. If it's in whichever category that might be, check the details of previous calls. So that will give an indication of what are the things they need. What are the dates? When in the year does it come out? Okay, has it passed? Has the deadline for this year passed? What do I need to? And this also helps you to be able to identify any gap in your CV based on their requirement for eligibility, and begin to build on that in targeting the next one. So I think in that sense, it's just about being prepared. You could look up those who have won those awards that you're interested in and contact them. But I would say with specific questions, because everyone is busy, but if you're asking specific questions, it helps the chances of those people responding. And finally, as you prepare your application, get as many feedback as possible from those who have expertise in research funding, so that it's not just feedback that will be useful, but it will be feedback that will be relevant. So my final thought here would be that we should know how to sell ourselves. We had the session earlier in the morning had shown that sometimes the opportunities that come might not be specifically what you have, but there's something about your skill set that might complement, that you could adapt to describe how you meet the things, the requirements of those opportunities. I would say act in a timely manner, because, for example, twice Nigeria was eligible for Third World Academy of Science fellowships. At the time, they yanked us off the list. So when you see opportunities that you're eligible for, it's better to act in a timely manner, so that when those new opportunity comes, or they suddenly decide for whatever reason to take the eligibility list to restrict it, you're not in a difficult position. The third point, which is very important here in my final thoughts, would be that don't limit yourself to the Canadas, the Australia, the US of this world. If there are funding opportunities that meet the research or the academic opportunity that you want in places that are less known, maybe Poland or Turkey or Korea, Taiwan, etc. Go for them, because what it shows is that you are competitive globally if you can win those awards, and it's usually just a stepping stone to other things. Once you have won something before, it's easier for you to win other things. Lastly, it takes work to apply for funding. So be dedicated to it, create time for it. And more importantly, there are many times you will get a no. So resilience is the name of the game. If you are bashed one way, there's no, you are disappointed. It's just, look at the feedback if you can get it from the funders and prepare to go for the next one. Okay, so that's all I would do in terms of the talk. I would just go through a few of the opportunities, maybe just explore one of the sites now. And then I would unshare that. 1 second, please. New share. Okay, so in this sense, I would be sharing, I'll just be walking through the website of, so CORDIS is like the central database of the European funding. So any of the funding for programs that are funded by the EU, you will find it here. And I'll just play around here with some of the funding opportunities and how to navigate this website. So that's the web page. I've just, because of time, I've just gone specifically to this page. So you'll find here what we want to look for as projects, okay? And then these are previous funding programs of the EU. So this is the one that was just finished last year. And there is Horizon Europe, which is the new one, but there are still funding opportunities around H2020 that runs till later years, 2025, 2026. So I've clicked that. Now I have come here. So one of the main things that I want us to look at here would be funding schemes that are, so I would start first with the doctoral program. So this is Marie Skolodakuri Action that are co-funded. So these co-funding projects are projects that the EU and a different organization within the EU, they write a project, we want to develop capacity, for example, in a particular area. So I will just use this example, okay? This immunology doctoral program. They want to develop this project. This project will run from 2021 to 2026. So I'll go to that page, if we could see that. Okay, what I'll do is go on this page. So let's look at this program. It's a joint doctoral program in immunology. It's between different universities, Basel, Freiburg, Karlsruhe, Strasbourg, though different, Switzerland, Germany, and France. And all they need are, over the course of the 5 years that the project will run, they will fund 50 researchers in specific areas. So that's what they have. That's the funding runs until 2026. So I'll just give you an example here of one of the doctoral training programs. Sorry. Okay, I'll stay on this. So that's an example, and basically you can just go to the website of the organization and look for more details on that funding opportunity. So let me go back to the main scale. So that's for those looking for doctoral programs, okay? You can filter and use a lot of this in terms of the project. So we've looked at the doctoral program. I will change that now. So MSCA, let's look at FP means fellowship program. So for those who are post-PhD. So I'm interested in that. I'm updating my search. It gives me 32. So let me do this. Let's look at Admire. So Admire wants to look at advanced manufacturing research fellowships in the Basque. The Basque is in Spain. It's a region in Spain. And what do they want to do? They want to look at developing expertise of people in those different areas. If you go to the specific website, so here would show you the website, and then, or you could simply even take this and put it on your Google search, and it tells you. Now, one advantage of the fellowship program that I want to mention is that it not only gives you opportunity to do research, there are a lot of training package that this fellowship program. So that's one of the ones that I won that I'll be starting in moving to Galway for. What I won was in photonics. You can imagine what photonics has to do with microbiology. But the project that was developed is to look at how, so photonics has to do with how they use light and use that to change the structure of materials and how that could be used for different applications. So in my own case, a microbiology applications, how that could help attachment of bacteria, etc. So even if the funding program does not directly, no, it does not look anything microbiology. If you look at it in more details, it's possible that you can apply or align your research and the expertise you've developed into one of these schemes that would help you. Some of them are not even specific to projects. So here it's talking about advanced manufacturing. Some other ones are just, we want to develop research capacity in XYZ area, or we want to build future leaders in nanotechnology. So that's the way to go about that. So for those who want to do doctoral programs, or if your interest is postdoctoral research, those are the ways to navigate. Now, I won't have time to go through the DAAD website, but I will share the slides. Now, I have the email of all those who registered for the masterclass. I can send you the slides, and you can explore each of these things and see how you can see here, for example, doctoral program in microbiome science. So the opportunities here is you apply for one of these. I have a friend who won one of the ITN fellowships, such that is based in Finland, but in every 3 months or every other month, they go to a training package that they've designed with partners in Germany, in Spain, in this part or that part of the world. So I think I would stop the talk now and give opportunities for questions so that we can run through that. So thank you very much. Yeah, question and answers, please. So do we have any questions in the regard of the things we've talked about?
Hello, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, thank you for the presentation, sir. I want to ask, out of all this opportunity, especially the Horizon 2020, is it not possible for this group to benefit in all this together as a group, to develop maybe a collaborative proposal with other groups to benefit from all these opportunities? Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you, Professor Badino, for the question. I would say that there's nothing stopping us from doing that. However, it depends on what particular funding scheme we're looking at and what the opportunities are. So, for example, I know people who, as part of one of the Horizon 2020 projects, there's an aspect that looks at individual research development or the individual researcher development. And there are other ones that will want to work collaboratively with partners based in Africa, so Nigeria in this instance. So members of NAM or whatever university that you are in, you could come together and build based on the track record of the individuals. If potential researchers in these countries, in the EU country, in the case of H2020, for example, are interested, or Horizon Europe, the new scheme that is out, are interested in a partner. So I was at a conference this month where someone was presenting about work they did with partners in Benin Republic. And I was thinking, why can't Nigeria be on this kind of platform? But it's because probably they don't know anyone or the funding is restricted to specific countries. But if they are not restricted, definitely it's something that we could, partners or potential people could come together and work to applying for those. But NAM specifically, maybe not because of the organizational structure. But I would say definitely individuals based on the institutions you work with can do that. So I hope that answers the question.
I asked this question because I know the new Euro platform for the new core that is coming. There is a platform for Europe Africa to come up with an idea. Yeah. So, and I'm saying this platform because I know we have different clusters within this platform. So if you have people that can sit down and study this course, because normally they always bring out what they are looking for with the areas that they are likely, maybe they will bring calls for in the future. So if you can develop a group and identify other good team within Europe that we can start talking on how to collaborate, because most of this group also is not when the call is out that they start their proposals.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying, that through this platform, if possible, because it's not easy to get good grant these days. A lot of people are getting to know more about this issue of grants and grants and grants, and they as you said, there's politics involved in these things also. So we need to sit down, really strategize, so that it will be good for us as NAM members, having 3 grants, 2 grants, big money, 1 million euro, 2 million euro, 4 million euro for good project, and it will help every one of us. So that's my submission. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, Prof. And yeah, I definitely agree. Are there other questions? So there is a question that came through, that can Nigerians access the EU website? Absolutely. People from all parts of the world can have access to that website, and it just takes time. Sit down there, play around, see what's been funded. And this funding, because there is bulk money, Horizon Europe, for example, has about 95 billion euros budgeted for the next 5 years. Some of them are specific for individual researcher development. Others are for different aspects of the funding landscape. See where you fit in and begin to work on it. Different projects come up every year, so they'll be adding new ones. Even if the things you are not interested in are not out yet, they will come up, but keep exploring. Keep exploring. Okay. Are there NAM members who want to ask questions around the individual research funding or things like that, so that those who are not part of NAM can also contribute? So please, let's ask questions, whether drop it in the chat or ask verbally. You're welcome.
Okay. Hello.
Yes, please go ahead.
All right. Yeah, I think in a way you've kind of managed to answer my question, because quite a number of time I've tried accessing the H2020 various program, and I saw that many a times it seems more Eurocentric, in terms of the people they are looking for, except for the MSN Eve kind of program. But any other thing, I say like it's more condensed towards European applicants. I might be wrong, but that's what I've been seeing, most of the time when I search through.
So what I would say is there are specific schemes. So for example, there are specific schemes that would look at only partners that are EU members or participating countries within the European continent. But there are still different schemes that can fund so like I've mentioned, that can fund the individual researcher. So for example, those doctoral programs, anyone could apply for. Fellowship programs, anyone could apply for from anywhere in the world. There are some of the funding schemes that would require a partner from outside the EU. So in those instances, if you find that kind of call, you begin to look for people who are, there was a call that I saw at the time that was, they were looking at antimicrobial resistance and all of that. And they basically were saying, okay, projects will come for a particular number of, the partnership would be particular number of EU countries plus somebody from outside, okay? So yeah, it's just about looking, and once you can find what you need, then you can start the process of reaching out. It might not be a specific answer, but I think I was able to answer that.
Right. I also want to add touch to one of the funding links you provided on the ACU. They have quite good number of programs, but then it's important that your institution is a member before you will be able to apply to them. So if you're not, if your institution is not a registered member, it will be difficult to register as to apply as an individual to their calls.
Absolutely. Thank you for adding that. You need to be an ACU, a member of the ACU to be eligible. So another question here is that post-bachelor students, the need for improving or adding more microbial skill sets. So like I alluded to this during the talk about knowing what the skill gaps are. So if in your area of research, no, I'm not limiting that to microbiology now. In your area of research, you read PhD for those who want to do a PhD, for example, or even for postdocs. These are the kind of skills they are looking for. These are the kind of the trend of skill sets. There is no excuse about not having them. There are different opportunities. Even if you don't have a lab to go to at that moment, YouTube is there. Spend your data to look at it. See how those skills work so that you can engage when you are having discussions. If they even respond to your emails in the first place and they're asking you questions, you can talk about things that connect with this potential or prospective supervisors or people who would host you in their labs. There's Coursera. There are many free online courses that you could take to improve your knowledge about how those things come up. So definitely, I would recommend that people should, if there is any specific skill gap that you have, try to fill it. If you can't, talk to people who are more senior and open to discussions on how you could go about things, and definitely they should be able to point you in the right directions. Any other question, please?
We have someone talking about cold emailing prospective supervisors, which many of them do not tend to respond. So how can one overcome this challenge?
Okay, so I would answer it in two parts. So there is probably a reason why they are not responding. So maybe the way you are writing your emails, or what you are writing in your emails. And the other might just be because they are just too busy and they don't get around to those emails. So I would say that a good master class on writing good emails, whether you are seeking for PhD or even postdoc, look at Dr. Ibala Jobi's Twitter page. He has fixed there how to write cold emails, what are the things that are required, what are in the paragraphs, things like that. So once you can improve the way you write your emails, they would want to read it. And once they are reading it, it first gets their attention. Then it's now left to how you're able to sustain that conversation that will determine how that progresses. So absolutely, I would recommend checking that page. It has a very robust, extensive information on how to write cold emails to people. And absolutely, for those who are non-members, or even if you are not a non-member and you would like to contact somebody, send that email to someone who you think is more experienced and could give you better feedback, so that, for example, you are not just writing their respected professor when they have a name, Professor XYZ. And you're not just talking about how, we don't have things in our labs, for example. You specifically talk about what you need, what skill set you have, what exactly do you want from them, and be specific. It's only then that they can help you to say, okay, you want a place in my lab, fine, I can give you a space. I don't have money, but at least that's a progress. You know that, okay, there is an opportunity here. I have to just go and look for the funding to be able to go to this lab. So those are the things that we would need to improve on if you want to improve your chances of getting responses to your email. I hope that answers it.
And just to corroborate what you just said, at least there was this recent interaction we had where I had to go through Dr. Income himself to his lab boss. And since then, I've been able to have some kind of direct access, communicating, so sometimes I get responses, sometimes I do not, but at least, he has been able to, like bridge, and connect both of us. So I think if you go indirectly through somebody that that knows that other person, that might be able to establish the kind of a link that you're looking out for. Then I also just want to kind of support what someone put in the comment section about, sending messages during their time zone. I also apply this concept. And what I do is that I try to program my email or schedule my email to their time zone, so that even when I'm not there, my email is going to automatically send that email on my behalf to the person, so that at least the first thing at their own time that they're checking their emails, most likely my email should be part of what they will be reading. They also note that they are also busy person too, and you might also allow for like 2 weeks after your initial email to kind of follow up. And maybe after that one, if no response, then maybe just try somewhere else, so that because sometimes many of them get overwhelmed with a lot of emails and requests. Then
Absolutely.
I can also answer the question by Dr. Muji on there's no need for any number of years, as long as your university is able to sign up and be members. Then the staff of your universities will be able to enjoy the benefits, of what is being offered by ACU. Thank you.
Yes. So, any other questions? I know that our time is fast spent, but it's a very useful conversation.
Okay, Dr. Ika, I have a question. Now, sometimes I write cold email to professors and they give responses like they are currently not accepting students at the moment, or they do not have funding, as the case. And sometimes I'm a bit confused on how to proceed with the conversation. Should I thank them for at least going through my email and ask for a recommendation, or do I just terminate the conversation? A referral or just to terminate?
Absolutely. So I would say that, well, personal thoughts now, I'd say that it's best to keep that conversation going. And how best you could do that is to say, thank you very much for the opportunity to give me a possibility of working in your lab. And what I would do going forward will be to look for opportunities to fund a potential place in their lab. So if, for example, they're happy to take you on for their for the PhD, okay? If they're happy to take you, but they don't have funding, secure that conversation by saying, thank you very much, I appreciate that. No, I will go and look for money. And when I find, I will come back to you. So it's not like you've closed the door. Because even many opportunities for PhD, like the Commonwealth scholarships, for example, would require that you have already admission. And most of the times, those admission committees will require that somebody has decided, agreed to supervise you before they admit you into the program, if you're not self-funding. So it's better to keep that conversation going so that when you get the money, or when you found other opportunities that can provide the money, you can always come back to them. And sometimes it might not even be for that PhD at that time. You might get something else elsewhere, and maybe later on you find out that, oh, there's still this research interest that I still want to pursue. At that stage, you can always get back in touch with them again. So I would say continue the conversation if it's possible.
Okay, thank you. And on a lighter note, one other question. When sending cold emails to professors, apart from resume, what other documents do you think is relevant to attach to support your application? I mean, this time are just the email.
If it's cold. So if it's a cold email, I think the CV, so absolutely the content of your email, very important. But whatever they can find in that email, CV is fine, but many people are wary of open attachments. So I think Dr. Emmanuel Mogaji, our keynote speaker earlier, mentioned that our online profile is important because they will check you out. I found people who contacted me who thought, oh, was writing me as professor. Absolutely no response now because this person doesn't know me. That's what it means. Because if you've taken the time to check, you will know that this is who I am. So if you are trying to send the code email, make sure that your online presence is very tight, quote and unquote. Update it. Any information they need, they can find it themselves. ResearchGate, LinkedIn, etc. So that from there, when they assess you, they'll see that, oh, this person has potentials, and then it helps their decision to respond to you or not. So very important. Attachment might be difficult because of cybersecurity issues. If it's not from an email that I know, some universities even have automatic screening. It doesn't go to their main emails because of that. So as much as possible, even if you can't attach, send attachment or links, make sure your online presence is very strong because they will look for it.
In addition to that, and this is not like it's an absolute approach, one thing I do also is that depending on the context of what I'm looking for, so let's say for example, I'm trying to do a study with a potential collaborator that I'm seeking out. So what I try to do as part of the email, like a line, 2 lines of why I'm looking for them and what I'm looking to achieve. So maybe a short, line about the idea you're looking out for and what you hope to achieve. And if it's bounced well with them, definitely you should get a response.
Yeah. Okay, so in the absence of any other question, I would say thank you very much to everyone that has attended the masterclass today. I hope you found it useful. the slides will be sent by email in the coming week, so you could follow through with some of the links, and hopefully it was a time worth spending. Okay, so thank you very much for those coming for the masterclass. For members of NAM, we can still do, if you're happy to wait, we can do a final few minutes for the question and answers, and we can call it a date for our research day. So thank you very much. Dr. Amara, over to you for the question and answer. So masterclass finished. Thank you very much, everyone.
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Yinka. That was another excellent discussion, and providing that information about funding, which is so crucial for us as researchers, for our professional development, and to do the sort of impactful work that we need to do. So I don't know, I just want to gauge the room. I can see that there has been a lot of conversation between speakers and the people asking the questions in the chat. So I don't know, I'll take my cue from the room. Do we still want to have like a conversation with the speakers about questions? Okay, thank you. Thank you, Christian. I'm sure that was you.
Yeah, that was me. Some response to some of the questions that they asked me, I kind of collated them together and sent it. So I hope that's quite helpful.
Yeah, that's very helpful. I don't know, did you, let me see, maybe I can just, maybe one question per speaker. You said the organisms are characterized, so that's in response to my question, but not the specific metabolites. So are you saying then that commercial dairy products available in the UK would not have been characterized to the detail of what sort of peptides, antimicrobial peptides they produce?